Olwethu Nodada is a passionate and intentional advocate for empowering the girl child and creating spaces where individuals from all walks of life are seen, heard, and given the space to achieve to their highest potential. A former national marketing manager for Africa's largest optometric network, her transition into media and broadcasting has come as an aggravating and challenging adventure. She's had the honor of being crowned Miss South Africa Second Princess in 2020 and confines to serve as a mentor for the organization. After only 2 years in the industry, she is now a radio host on Cape Town's biggest radio station. She is the go-to host and MC for multinational corporates across the country and serves on the board of Amehlo Trust, which seeks to empower young Black female optometrists through equity funding for their own businesses. As a broadcaster, community builder, businesswoman, and speaker, her biggest role is being mom to 2 girls who she wishes to inspire to excellence by being a solid example of hard work, commitment, and leading with kindness.
Oh, wow. Here we are again. Welcome to our Future Global Leaders Club members, our proud parents, and of course, our proud ambassadors. It is our very first session of Sharpening Your Excellence for 2024. And so good to see so many of you here today. You've chosen just the best thing to do on a Saturday afternoon to gear you up for a successful exam season. I'm going to ask that you please make sure that your microphones are on mute. All right, and that your videos are off so that we don't disturb the presentation in any way. So just click on your device and click mute on the microphone button and video off to make sure that we can see the presentation clearly and there are no interruptions. Of course, we want you to really be engaged in this session. So as soon as you have questions and that sort of thing, we'll allow for a moment for you to interact with the Mavo. It is a session called Sharpening Your Excellence in Physics, Chemistry, and Mathematics, top 3 subjects that Ukhali spoke to us about when she spoke to us in April, about the importance of really honing in on those subjects and how these 3 subjects are integral in making sure that your career opportunities as you step into university are vast and wide and open. So today's session was so critical because it's an opportunity for you to really dig into the do's and the don'ts as you journey towards mastering physics, mathematics, and chemistry. There's also an opportunity for you to engage and challenge Mavo with your questions. We'll get to that in just a bit. First of all, of course, I'd like to have a word with our founder, Ulihle Zilwa. She is joining us just to say welcome and, of course, share what she's looking forward to in the session. Lihle, hello, how are you doing? Lihle, are you there? Struggling to hear you. But Luvuga, can you see if Lihle is there on your side? I can't seem to see on my side.
She'll be joining us late. Sorry, she'll be joining us later.
Okay, all right, perfect, no problem. All right, then let's get into the meat of the session. We always want to start off a Sharpening Your Excellence session with a bit of motivation. We have a library of motivational videos that we dig into that really speak to the essence of what we're trying to achieve today. And of course, today's session is focused on studying effectively for physics, mathematics, and chemistry. We're going to see a video by Colin the Chad, who's going to be talking about really optimizing your time when you study. You know, some of us think that studying is just only about making sure you're putting in 8 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours per subject, but how effectively are you using those hours and making sure that you get the most out of them? So it's quality versus quantity. Let's get to that video.
If you clicked on this video because you want to learn how to get straight A's while studying less, you're in the right spot. For many years, I've practiced how to become an academic weapon. In primary school, I was a valedictorian. In high school, I had a 4.0 GPA while studying max 2 hours a day. And now I'm a computer science student at Yale University. And along my journey in school, I've learned some important lessons on how to become that student. You see, on YouTube, you can probably scroll to find a bunch of videos of people studying 10 hours or 12 hours a day, and they claim they're being productive. Cool. But to be clear, my definition of productivity has never been about who studies the most amount of hours. That's a little bit childish. To me, it's about who gets the best grade while studying the least amount of hours. And that is exactly what you'll learn today in this video. Because I may not be a genius, but I know from experience that if you have the right mindset and if you know how to study effectively, you can easily get straight A's while still having a lot of free time for yourself. So the first thing you want to do is fix broken monkey mindset, right? So let me ask you a question. If you had an exam tomorrow morning and you only had 2 hours today to study, what would you do? Now, chances are you're probably not gonna try to decorate your chemistry notes with a bunch of highlighters and try to make it look aesthetic. You'd probably try to do as many practice papers as you can, as many practice problems as you can, and study as if you're trying to cram really hard for the exam with focus. The point that I'm trying to make here is that studying effectively is about prioritization. So the reason why I'm able to study only 2 hours a day while still getting really good grades is because I prioritize my time well. It's because I choose the right things to study. I'm not just gonna waste time and rewrite notes from the textbook, or another classic one is just listen to a 30-minute guide on calculus on YouTube and expect that I'll get full results tomorrow. Instead, I'm gonna do active recall. I'm gonna practice by doing problems from the textbook. And I personally will go through every single question until it's like muscle memory, until I see the question for 2 seconds and I automatically know the answer. And the reason I study this way is because I know that 80% of the exam's concepts are just going to be repeated from the past papers. So guys, stop wasting time trying to look productive, right? Nobody really cares. What matters more is that you get the work done and you work effectively. Now, another mindset shift that will save you a bunch of time is to stop learning the things that you're already good at. Rather, try to focus on your weaknesses. Focus on the things that you haven't fully mastered yet. And this way, you're filtering out the information on what to study, and you'll end up saving a bunch of time. Now, the second important thing you need to do is to fix your broken time management skills. Most students, what they do is they wait until the last minute to submit an assignment or to submit a project. Like for example, if math homework was due next Monday, most students would do it on a Saturday or Sunday. Me personally, I like to do the opposite. So as soon as I get my homework, I get it done that same day. And if it's work that I can finish in less than 5 minutes, for example, filling out a Google form or something like that, I get it done straight away. So as soon as I get the email notification, I am done, guys. And the reason why is because at the end of the day, you're gonna be spending that same amount of time doing that work. So why not just get it over with right now so that you can enjoy the rest of your time? So for example, I'm taking a computer science course this semester at Yale, and there's actually a problem set that's due next week. But yesterday, I decided to spend 2 hours of my afternoon to get the entire problem set done. And some people haven't even started. So that way I have so much more mental freedom and mental space to do other fun things. And what I'm trying to teach you guys here is a very basic principle of delayed gratification. If you guys just sacrifice 1 or 2 afternoons to get all your projects and all your homework done in that week, you'll have so much more free time. You'll be able to do things like go to the gym, go out with friends, record YouTube videos, or read. But maybe you're not like me. Maybe you need 3 hours to get all your work done. That's completely fine, right? Some days I also take 3 or 4 hours to get my work done because I'm so like in the flow state. But the point here is to get things done early as opposed to on time or last minute. So Colin, how do you get into deep work? Like, how do you get to that stage where you can just work for 2 hours nonstop and be like super productive? The most important thing about deep work is eliminating distractions. The first major distraction that you might have is your cell phone. If you're studying with your phone right beside you, that's alright, but try to put it on do not disturb or airplane mode so you don't get distracted with all your text messages and scrolling through Instagram like every 5 minutes. I personally don't have that problem because most of the time I put my phone under the desk or I put it on a separate room when I'm deciding to study. But even if I have my phone right in front of me while studying, honestly, I don't even have like the urge to check my phone every 5 minutes because I have my priorities straight. So try your best to focus and eliminate these distractions. Now, the second simple thing you can do is to change your study environment. So for example, if you like to study inside your room, in your desk, try to clean it up a little bit, because chances are if your room is all messy, if your clothes are all around the place, you'll not be able to focus and you won't be able to have that motivation to study. And ideally, if you can, create a separate room or a separate space in your room specifically for studying. And if you don't study inside your room, then try to find a space that's quiet. Maybe that's gonna be a library, or maybe there's gonna be an empty classroom in your school. And guys, once you find that study spot that you really like, claim it as yours, as if it's your own personal study spot, and you'll be so much more productive. Now, the last tip that I wanna give to you guys is to leverage study momentum. So Colin, what is study momentum? It looks like, for example, when I'm 1 hour into my deep work and I feel like I'm being so productive that I just want to get more work done. So sometimes this happens. I tell myself that within 1 hour, I want to finish 2 math problem sets, let's say. And within that hour, I end up completing both of them. And then I feel so good about myself and I feel so in the zone that I just want to do more. And so I end up doing 3 more problem sets. That is exactly what you call leveraging study momentum. And where this momentum comes from is actually by proving to yourself that you can achieve what you say. So say, for example, you tell yourself to get this English essay done in the next hour and you actually complete it. From that experience, you slowly build trust with yourself. You slowly build the self-belief and confidence that you can finish what you set out yourself to do. And who knows that by the end of that study session, you might even just realize that you're done with your work for the entire week. So that is how you become more productive, and that is how you become an academic weapon. If you follow these study principles, you'll be spending less time studying and you'll be getting better results. And I promise you, you'll be much prouder of yourself. So that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys got lots of value from it. My name is Colin and I make videos on college, self-improvement, and high performance. So if you want to be part of my journey, make sure to smash that like button down below and subscribe to be part of the family. God bless the hustle. We're all gonna win one day, and I'll see you in the next one.
Absolutely love that. I'm sure you were wondering at the start, is he saying we study less and still achieve more results? And I think the important things that he's highlighted there is prioritization. So I know some of us, you want to spend a lot of time making beautiful notes, highlighting all these things, but you really need to make sure that when you are in study mode, that you are prioritizing the important thing, prioritizing the past papers, repeating those questions over and over again until when you see that question, it's second nature to you as to how to respond. He's also mentioned time management, eliminating distractions, and finding that sweet spot. And once you've got your study momentum, you just keep it going. That's just beautiful tips there. We're going to share that with this recording as we end off the session later on today. All right, now, the reason we're all here today is, of course, to learn from the man himself, Mavo Solomon, who's no stranger to the Future Global Leaders Club. He's been with us since the inception of this program, and he's been such an integral part in making sure that our students, you, our superstars, are well equipped to step into a physics exam, chemistry, tackle your maths with great confidence. But he doesn't shy away from making sure that you are actually accountable and you commit to working hard. He is a mechanical engineer by profession, born and bred Ekomani, formerly Queenstown, and he holds a BSc degree in maths and physics. So he also holds a BSc degree in mechanical engineering and a master's of engineering. He has worked with mathematics and physics and chemistry tutoring since 1993. He was in corporate for a few years, but returned back home because of his passion for teaching young people the beauty and the fun and the passion in physics, chemistry, and mathematics. He started the Eteveche Foundation and has been working ever since as a traveling mathematician and, of course, tutoring thousands and thousands of learners across the country on mathematics, physics, and chemistry. He is the perfect person for you to be able to dig into in this session because he has seen so many learners just like you start perhaps with 60s and end up at scoring at high 80s and 90s. And that's true dedication and hard work. He's seen the mistakes that are common within learners as they tackle these subjects. And he certainly has mastered the do's and don'ts in mastering physics, chemistry, and science. Mr. Solomon, I've given you a beautiful introduction, and I know we're going to have a fantastic time with you this afternoon. Welcome to Future Global Leaders Club. So good to have you back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, and I can see you. Hello, good Mavo. How are you?
I'm good already. How are you doing?
I am very, very well, very excited to have you back with us. I know a majority of the FGLers that are here with us today are going to be first timers, as we had a very big intake of new members at the start of the year, but I can guarantee you that they are robust, that they are engaged, and looking forward to the session with you.
Awesome, awesome. I'm happy to be here as well. I'm hoping
right.
we can interact nicely.
I'm going to hand it over to you, Mavo. The floor is all yours.
All right. Let me share my screen. Doesn't matter how often I do this, I'm very slow.
We can see you, got the screen.
Okay. Let me set on my slideshow. Yeah, what's happening? From time slide.
There you go.
No, that's my Saturday for you. Hi everyone. My name is Mavo Solomon. As you have heard from that beautiful introduction by FGL and Olwetu. I have those 3 degrees that you see there, but I often like telling people that I also dropped out from a 4th degree back in 2004. So I got a lot of these degrees long before many of you were born, long before all of you were born, actually. And I've worked, obviously, in the field at ESCOM, at the Development Bank of Southern Africa. I also worked for the University of Cape Town as a researcher there, senior researcher in energy. So without wasting time, I thought today I'll jump in with a question. Usually I talk a lot and then later on people participate. But if you guys are paying attention, I would like to ask this question. I was listening to Chad there and I almost deleted my presentation because Chad hit all the sweet spots about the things I want to talk to you about today. So, but I want to engage you and start hearing from you what you think learning is. So I know this is kind of a surprise to the team, but quickly, show of hands, who wants to answer this question? I have my own answers. We can see if my answers match your answers. Anyone who wants to answer? Zabalaza, Nandi.
So learning is acquiring skills or knowledge through experience or studying or being taught.
Awesome, that's a beautiful definition. Anyone else want to throw in? Lusango Mbongo.
Hello, sir. I believe learning is the addition or absorption of new knowledge from the already base knowledge that you have. So it can either be learning a new skill, which you didn't have, or learning a new subject, a new term, someone's name, just an addition of knowledge to the knowledge that you already had. I believe that is learning, sir.
Awesome, I like that a lot. One last one, Anam Sofe. Can't hear you, Anam.
In my own perspective, I think learning is from doing knowledge.
Okay. Anam, unfortunately, I'm going to have to let you go because your sound is very poor. Okay? I'll let you go. Lafika, quickly.
Afternoon. So let's say I think learning is putting yourself in a state where you have to make mistakes and acquire knowledge and experience from them so that you become a better person in the future. So yeah.
Awesome. I like that. I just want to say to the students who are connected with video, feel free to stop your video. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so those were fairly good answers. I think they are definitely in sync with what I want to say. All right, that's my cat. I'll go back to that cat later. So what is learning? Obviously, everyone who just spoke said acquiring knowledge, new facts, ideas, group of facts, group of ideas, or acquiring a skill. A skill could be learning to play a musical instrument. I like that one. Riding a bicycle, swimming, playing some sport, because you have to acquire skill for that sport. But you could also acquire facts, right? You learn physics, you learn chemistry, you acquire the facts that come along with those subjects, and as well as mathematics. So what does learning do? Learning develops our brain. So if we do it right, and inculcate the facts in our brain, okay, what is inculcate? To inculcate is to instill an idea by persistent instruction. Okay, they give an example there. I try to inculcate my pupils an attitude of inquiry. So as science students and math students, you have to be curious. So you have to have the attitude of inquiry. So you inculcate the facts and you cultivate the skill. Right? Cultivation, you know that you can cultivate crops in the field. But in this case, we're looking for the second definition to try and acquire, develop a quality or a skill. So you have to cultivate a skill. So that is learning. So learning is not just reading a topic, just paging. I see a lot of people do that a lot. They take a book and they say, no, I studied, I read, but they don't inculcate that knowledge. So reading five pages later, you realize that you don't remember any of the stuff you've been reading, okay? Is not learning. That is just, ngesixhosa we say, you're just making yourself feel good, but you're not really learning, and that's going to frustrate you in the long run. Learning is the main reason you are in school, to acquire knowledge. There's no subject in school called learning. You just walk in class and they start teaching you Xhosa, they start teaching you English grammar, poetry, they start teaching you mathematics, the different topics, they start teaching you your physical sciences, but no one ever says at the beginning of the session, hey, here's what we're going to learn today, right? We're learning these facts. I'm going to assess you later in the class whether you've retained the facts that I'm going to teach you. So that's also important, in that if you're listening, you have to remember, right? We're going to talk about what studying is. So let's talk, we've talked about learning. I want to hear from you what you think studying is. So Rafik Msindo, you're the first one up. What do you think studying is?
Okay, studying, so I think it is when you put yourself in a state where you study a certain topic that maybe you don't know, or trying to practice a method that you feel like it is easy for you to capture a content says that you don't understand, and using ixesha lakho ngehlelo right and your time management and your all those methods that are required for you to capture topics easy for you.
Awesome. So studying basically is dedicating time to learning, right? It is the process of learning. Amahle Mutapi, did you want to add?
I have nothing to add, sir, because he already said everything that I was going to say. Basically means that studying is you devoting your time and attention to gaining knowledge of academic and subjects, especially by the means of books. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so I'm gonna move on quickly. I don't think we'll differ greatly in terms of what I want to say in terms of studying. So it's a process and a method of learning. So you can study things visually, that is, you can read stuff with your eyes if you have the ability to see, or you could watch a video like you were watching the chat guy speaking, Collins the chat. Or you can listen orally, not the spoken orally in the ear. That's one way of studying, right? You can sit in class while your teacher's teaching you. That's what you're doing. You're studying. You're participating in the learning experience. You should be able to do both visual studying and oral studying, right? You should be able to sit with a book and read the content that you're being taught, process it, understand it, test yourself with an example, test yourself with an exercise. And you should be able to document what you are hearing from your teacher in front of you, or from any video that you're listening to or podcast you're listening to. There's so many ways you can learn these days and so many ways you can study. You should take advantage fully of the technology available to you in 2024. So all of this is basically trying to make sure that our brain can remember stuff. So if you don't study, you don't remember. You can pray as much as you want. If you did not sit down and take the time to learn an idea, to inculcate it in your head, process it, do an example just to test if you understood it, your memory will always come short, right? The brain is our big memorization muscle, okay? So the brain builds up memory for us, and it does that by using two halves of the brain. The left-hand side of the brain is more focused on details. So you could detail a routine. Let's say you want to figure out how to do a completion of the square, grade 11s, grade 12s, you know this. So you learn how to do it, right? You learn the routine, you learn definitions. Definitions are the atoms of the knowledge that you'll be learning in your sciences. So you need to be very, very much aware that a definition is not something you read and try and remember in the future. It is something you read and you process. You make sure your brain understands it. Okay. The left brain also documents algorithms for you. If you're solving an equation, for instance, you want to take terms to the other side of the equation, want to divide the coefficient and solve for x, for instance. So that could be an algorithm, okay? Or find the lowest common denominator. All of those things, they go in the left brain. Lists, words, sentences, right? And the right brain is the one that summarizes everything for you. So you can't have a good summary of stuff that you didn't take time to detail for yourself. Right? You can solve as many problems as you want. Like if you don't know what a vector is, and you know a vector by definition, right? If you don't know what a vector is, you can't answer vector questions. They'll always throw you off. And I'm just making an example of a vector. So the right brain will summarize only things you have learned. So you can't sit there in class, daydream about doing the next video challenge for Jalaban or something, and then think that when you get out of class, you're sorted, okay? You won't be sorted because you didn't sit and listen to the detail that your teacher was giving you. Similarly, when you're reading and you have distractions, you won't be able to document the details, and therefore you won't have the summarized information. Time is budgeted, okay? Time is the one thing that does not belong to us. We sleep between 6 to 8 hours, okay? between 6 to 8 hours. Some people might sleep less. I don't recommend it. You need as much rest as possible. Resting fires up your brain the next day. It reboots your system every night. If you go to sleep and wake up the next day, a lot of students today studying something, studying for a test, an exam, and then will push themselves 2 weeks before the exam or test, or a week before, or 2 nights before, and they end up not sleeping properly. And you get to the test and you forget a lot of things. I've seen your marks, thanks to Mrs. Zelo. So I know you're not those kind of students. You're performing very well. So whatever you're doing is aiding your performance abilities, your academic performance very well. So I encourage you to only improve on that and not to take from it. So you have 6 hours of sleep. You have 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours of being in school, attending school, right? Prepare to go to school, wake up, brush your teeth, wash, have this do or whatever before you go to school. You travel, you walk sometime to school, or you take a combi or a bus, whatever transport. Right? And you get to school, school starts hopefully on time, and you learn. Right? The whole day you're in school, you're not really doing the kind of learning that is under control. You're just taking in facts, answering whatever questions your teachers are answering, or struggling to answer questions if you didn't prepare. So those hours are fixed, your school premises, and you're traveling between home and school. And then the last batch of the 24 hours in a day is for you to study, right? I'm including now home chores. When you get home, there's dishes that need to be washed. There's vegetables that need to be peeled. There's cleaning that needs to be done. All of that. There's the homework that needs to be done. All of that has to be done in that 8 hours. Right? You only have that extra 8 hours, unless you start taking time from your sleep or bunking school, which I don't encourage, right? Take time from sleep, you start to forget things. Lack of sleep means you forget a lot of information. So time is fixed. That 24 hours needs to be used very wisely. Don't waste it, okay? I heard Collins the chat, they're saying that a lot of people overspend time studying. I think that you'll find out there's something called the learning curve. So when you're starting a topic, I know a lot of students, they're starting new topics. I've seen my own students as well. Also, I'm not sure I follow these theorems in circle geometry. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the learning curve. So go in, don't go home and waste time watching TV or whatever you enjoy on TV, or waste time on social media. Try and go through the stuff you were learning that day. That day has its own set of things, set of facts and ideas to be consumed, right? So get home, study, go over the stuff that you were doing in class, see if you can do better and study ahead. I always recommend studying ahead, so that when you get to class the next day, you start asking engaging questions. You don't just sit there and thinking, oh no, when will I start understanding this? A lot of students postpone learning. If I don't understand it now, I'll understand it on Friday. That will never happen. Whenever you learn something, go home, go over it. That way you don't spend too much time studying. So you're always learning, right? Even if you use the 2 hours that Collins the chat was saying, you're doing it daily. So what was the last thing that he said? Then you learn to entrust yourself with this ability to constantly learn. So you need to be persistent with your learning. Okay.
I think he was saying leveraging momentum. So once you have your study momentum, don't let it go. Yeah,
that's the word. Your studying momentum. You need to keep that going. You're doing science, so you'll understand what momentum is. Okay. So there's the mass that comes with sitting down and learning, that keeps the body moving forward, the inertia, right? So that momentum, once you start sitting down to learn, you don't want distractions. if you can switch your phone off for 5 days during the week, it's probably better for you. I used to be on social media as an adult, right? And I found that when I woke up in the morning, this is now before the TikToks and all of that, I want to reach for my phone and check Facebook. I need to check Twitter. And over the years, I'm like, why? Because like I'll see the stuff later. I don't have to wake up and look at it. But it's addictive. It's designed to be addictive. So what you don't realize with these social media platforms is that they're really meant to distract you, to distract you from doing something productive, not just you as a student, but also us as adults. So you need to avoid distractions. So there are distractions you can't avoid, like the chores at home that you have to do. You can negotiate though. So you can say, okay, Olenti, can I please wash the dishes every second day? My sibling should do the same, etc. Right? You can negotiate the chores at home. But smartphones are dangerous. They take away a lot of your time. You're probably sitting there going like, oh, I got 83%. But I'm thinking, first term, you should have been getting 100% because it's the easy stuff, right? First term, still easy stuff. And it gets harder as the year proceeds. So minimize use of smartphones, dance challenges, and all of that stuff. Avoid if you can. TV was the old culprit nowadays. Also avoid if you can, minimize time for watching TV. If you study during the week, then you'll have a whole weekend to sit and watch TV if you need to watch TV. I recommend studying during the week and using one of the 2 days in the weekend, Saturday or Sunday, just to relax and refresh your brain. Okay. Nutrition. Oh, you guys, you don't eat nutritious things. I've seen those packets of knickknacks and all the others that come from the shops, my friend shops, right? That stuff is not nutritious. You're probably better off just buying apples, buying bananas, right? So the trick with studying is that you don't want to sit down and start studying and you fall asleep. So if you're eating if you're eating things with the high sugar content, drinking Coca-Cola or whatever, refresh, chocolate bars and whatever, that stuff, it'll spark you. You'll feel the sugar rush and you sit in, and then it'll drop you. And then you're hungry. I watched a documentary the other day saying that the fast foods that we eat don't satiate us, right? They don't satisfy us. So that's why we can eat a person can eat a whole pizza box, because the pizza doesn't fill you up like, for instance, or whatever, homely meal. Pizza just wants to be eaten, and that's not good for you. So if you're eating highly processed foods, you're gonna struggle to concentrate. So small things like having nuts, having fruits, raw carrots, legumes like lentils and beans. Obviously, we come from different backgrounds. We don't necessarily have access to all of this stuff, but if you have 20 rands and you buy knickknacks, I recommend buying veg like cucumbers and all of that stuff. Because once you crunch on it, the brain fires, and you don't fall hungry. Like you can eat a pear and not feel hungry. Okay, I know you guys are teenagers and your metabolisms are quite high, so maybe that's it's not as simple as that. But be aware of what you consume. And water. We need to drink water. I know for most of us in the BCM region, we don't trust our BCM water, but you can boil it and leave it to cool. You can boil it in the morning, come back after school, and leave it, having left it to cool, and drink it. Or you can put it in the fridge if you have access to a fridge. But water, you need all the time. Always be drinking water. Don't overdrink it. There is such a thing as water poisoning, but water is very good for you. if you drink it rationally. 4 or 5 glasses of water. Right? I have worked with a lot of students, right? Thousands, as Olwechu says in that video. And I've only started testing student expectations for their input. Let's say you're writing a test. Now, I'll have a grade 12 student who has to write a remedial exam, an improvement exam. What do they call them? Supplementary exam. Maybe in May or November. So I'll test them. I'll give them a pre-exam exam just to see if they can keep time, they can answer enough questions in 3 hours and so forth. And then I'll mark them and then I'll ask them what their expected mark is. Every student, without fail. No, so it wasn't bad. I passed them. So you got over 50%. Yeah, and mostly they wouldn't have gotten over 50%. They would have gotten something much less. And then I give them the paper to mark themselves and challenge where I marked them wrong. And then they realize that they had an unqualified expectation. So you get what you put in, right? There are no miracles in education. I mean, you could be lucky and get easy questions that you have encountered before, or similar questions you have encountered before. But you need to manage your expectations through studying. And I've worked with students, obviously, post-high school as well. I have a student now at GCT doing information systems. And it's amazing that she failed one exam, like a statistics exam, a different kind of statistics to the one you're learning in high school. And the next exam she was going to write was on information systems, and she panicked that she was going to fail that. When she wrote it, she was like, oh, I don't remember. I think I failed it. And then she got a distinction for it, like first class. Students are like that. They're so wild in their expectations. They do badly, but expect to have done well. They do well, but expect to have done badly. Maybe the second one is not so bad, but you need to be sure about your abilities going in and out of an exam. I have asked the team to take your questions for me today. And I have collected them. I want to show you something quickly that I saw from one of my students. Right? This is a probability question. You don't know what the question is, or you shouldn't care. It's a conditional probability, but this is an expression that you get from working with it. And this was done as an example in the notes at the university, or in the statistics department. And the student was like, how did they move from this step to this step? This is a university student, second year student. Like, I know it's simple maths, but I'm not sure what they did. I thought I'll ask my high school students to explain what has happened between this step and this step. I want to talk about this particular issue in terms of numbers. So if anyone dares to answer, please answer me. What has happened here between this step, this fraction, and this fraction, this fractional expression? I don't want to talk too much without engaging, so sorry to spring this on you. Anyone? Grade 9, grade 8, grade 10, grade Sabalaza Nandi.
So, firstly, I think the 24/11 was cancelled out.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the numerator the x squared plus xy over 2 in the numerator was cross multiplied. So the x squared is over 1 plus the xy over 2, and then we cross multiply.
Right, so you get 2x squared plus xy over 2.
Yes.
And then in the denominator?
And then in the denominator, we also cross multiplied. So we multiplied the 3 multiplied by y, and we got 3y, and then we multiplied the 4 by 1, and then we got 4. That's why in the denominator, we have 4 plus 3, 4 plus 3y. But I'm not sure about the numerator, how we got 12x squared plus 6xy.
You're cheating. That's what I want you to explain. Who else wants to take a stab at this? So we know that the like terms, like numbers are cancelled out, right? 24 over 11 divided by 24 over 11 is 1. What has happened? How did we move from these two fractions to this? I mean, yes, these expressions to this expression. It's quite close to what Nandi is saying. Lati Gwelidi. Latita, unmute yourself.
We cancelled out 24 over 11, right?
Yes.
And then after that, on the numerator, we are left with x squared plus xy out of 2. And then on the denominator, we are left with 1 out of 3 plus y over 4. And then we on the numerator, we the lowest common denominator is 2. And then we will multiply x squared by 2, and then Citibana xy times 1, all out of 2. And then we divide it all by, on the denominator, we'll say 4 times 1 plus 3 times y, all out of 12. And then we go divide la numerator and the denominator, right? And then we can see on the numerator, we have a fraction, and also on the denominator, we have a fraction. So we change that division sign into a multiplication. So it means the denominator will change, and then is about 12 out of 4 plus 3y. And then the 2 by 6 to 12, right? So we cancel 2 with 12, now we are left with 2x squared plus xy divided by 1 times 6 out of 4 plus 3y. And then we multiply a numerator by a numerator, a denominator by a denominator. So on the numerator will be 6 times 2x squared plus xy divided by 4 plus 3y. And then we remove the divisions, the brackets, by multiplying in 6 on the numerator. And then our final answer will be 12x squared plus xy, all divided by 4 plus 3y.
That's it. Thank you, Latita. What grade are you in?
I'm in grade 11, sir.
Grade 11, awesome. Okay, so this was something that challenged the university student, second-year university student. So as you can see, you need to get your fractions up to speed. This is a concept we introduced in primary school, but we really start testing your abilities to work with fractions in high school. So from grade 8, fractions are very important all the way to the rest of your life. I know I saw some questions there about the usefulness of maths post academia. How do we apply maths in the real world? Okay, so this This is a simple, straightforward LCD calculation. LCD here is 12. Even if you just worked with this fraction at the bottom, it's going to be 3 plus, so it's going to be 4 plus 3y over 12. Right, and because the 12 is dividing here, it goes at the top and it multiplies. It's going to be 12x squared because this will be gone. 12x squared plus 6yx.
Yeah?
Just by getting this.
Yeah.
Can we ask you all to mute, please?
All right. Anyway, so numbers are a big part of your mathematics and your physics and chemistry education. Make sure you understand how to work with them. I wanted to say that before I jump into your own questions, I don't think we'll have a lot of time for everything, but I want us to go through the questions. At this point, I'm going to jump and share the screen. What's happening? Can't share my screen.
All right, so we asked some of you guys to send through some questions yesterday. Sandile has put those together for Mavo, and these are the questions that he's going to be going through today. Please don't be shy to pop some questions into the chat box as well. If there are any questions that come up that aren't addressed in this interaction, please write those down and just put your hand up. We'll get to those questions time allowing. Right, over back to you, Mavo.
How much time do I still have left?
You are doing so well. You still have 60 minutes.
60 minutes, okay. That's a lot. Okay, awesome. So I got your questions. Those of you who were able to send them through. I was going to prepare them into the slides, and I thought that's pointless. Let's work with them from the document I got from Sandile. So I'm going to start with. I tried to prioritize the ones I wanted to answer quickly. I saw a lot of questions that wanted me to do calculations for them, and that's not going to happen today. Okay, but we'll get to as many questions as possible, and I'll explain why some I'm not going to answer here. Okay, so mangaye Xeba, ne? Hope Kona and a grade 8 learner asked, is there a platform where I can get previous past papers? Yes, there is. If you can copy this, even for grade 8, ecexams.co.za. That is a nice platform that I use a lot to access past papers. I think this platform particularly has papers from grade 1 all the way to grade 12. Okay, they might vary in terms of how far back they go. If Somangaye is here, can they indicate by raising their hand? Yes. Okay. So that was your first question. The second question was, what is the easiest way? What trick can I use to remember important notes before exams? I don't like tricks. Like I said, the brain is a funny beast. Okay, so it wants things to be done the right way. No tricks, using the left lobe of the brain, so that your right part of the brain remembers essentially what needs to be done. So I don't have tricks. If you're doing biology, which is what is it called now? Life sciences. If you're doing life sciences, obviously you could use things called mnemonics. Let me just, that's answer 1. Answer 2. Mnemonics. No. Always might know how to spell mnemonic. How do you spell mnemonic?
Is it not with a P? No. I don't know.
It is with the P, né?
TNEU.
TNEU.
You like that? I think so.
But mnemonic would be like an acronym. So if you want to remember trigonometric functions, ratios.
Mancha is correcting our spelling of mnemonics there.
Who's correcting it?
Mancha. Let's see.
What is it?
She spelled it with two N's, two M's. So MEMONICS.
Yes, M. Not P.
MNE. So this is me spelling pneumonia, basically, how I made you spell it. Sorry.
Yes. I mean, there are mnemonics with P, but the mnemonic circuits are pumped with gas or liquid. But this one that I was looking for is MN, like this, yes.
Yes.
So for instance, if you're learning trigonometry, some people say sine Sakatoa, sine all. What's that thing? Sine is opposite over sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tan is opposite over adjacent. So they study this, they memorize this mnemonic, and then use it whenever they have to remember sine, especially grade 10 learners when they first encounter trigonometry. So, I mean, there's a lot of these tricks. I don't know. I just prefer knowing what a thing is. And that works for me. And I was not the brightest in high school. So, but I came to fruition at university. I didn't take shortcuts. I took time to study a thing for what it was and made sure I understood it. Maybe some of this can be answered later. There was a question from another grade 11 student that I might want to address. Okay, so Mangai, that's all I have to say for you. If you're in grade 8, go check that website, www.ecexams.co.za. Grade 9, I saw this list of questions from Umakuze Maliwa, grade 9. If he or she is here, please raise your hand. Sabalaza, did you want to ask something? Why is your hand up? Okay, thank you. Anyway, so Makuze asked some questions that I enjoyed. So maybe I want to address on behalf of all of you. The first question was, what course in tertiary can you do with maths and science? It's nice that a person in grade 9 is starting to think like this. And I have students who have considered careers post-high school, post-university already by grade 9. So I like that idea. It helps you focus a little bit better, make sure that you keep your maths and science marks up.
FJ Alice, please make sure that your microphones are on mute. Thank you so much.
Okay. So, what course in tertiary can you do with maths and science besides engineering and medicine? There are lots of streams. There are lots of streams you can do at varsity. You could do a BSc itself, right? A Bachelor of Science degree. You could do business science. Business science is more mathematics, statistics, and finance. It's a lovely degree if you want to get into the field of finance. It's hard. I've been told, I've never done it, I'll try to do a version of it as a master's degree when I try to do the master's in financial mathematics. So it's a 4-year degree program. You have to have a high mark to get in. And there's environmental sciences, there's architecture, there's computer science. There's lots of degree programs that you could look at if you wanted to do if you wanted to use your maths and science without getting into engineering and medicine. Okay, so I would recommend you go to all of the universities. Most of them have an account that goes ac.za, Bert's, AC, academic.za, South Africa, Rhodes University, I think is Rhodes, or are you? I can't remember. Nelson Mandela, etc., etc. So if you visit all these websites and go into the science department, you'll see science programs. If you search minimum requirements, maths and physical sciences, you'll get different programs coming out at you if you Google. So if you do a Google search, you should be able to get. I think nowadays, because you have these AI bots that are answering questions, I recommend you use Google and Bing more frequently, because they can have a conversation with you. You can just go to Bing and type, what degrees can I study? Something like this, can I study with maths and science? You can type a whole sentence, and then the AI bot will answer you. You'd have to say in South Africa, if you want to be in South Africa, or you can study overseas if you want, right? So please do that. The second question that I saw from Marcus, science and chemistry, what is the difference between the two? There is no difference. Chemistry is a science. It's a physical science, like physics is. So we just combine the two, physics and chemistry, and call it physical sciences in high school. But they all implement a scientific method. Scientific method is an inquiry about the nature of things in the universe. Okay, so chemistry is a science. It's not just a part of science, it's also a science. Do you need science and maths to be a lawyer? I wouldn't say need, but it doesn't hurt. It does not hurt.
I think within the first year of an LLB degree, they do an accounting subject. Yeah. And also in terms of billing, I have a few friends that have done an LLB, and because they didn't prioritize mathematics in high school, they struggled with those courses and ended up carrying them to their 4th year. So it was one of the lingering courses with them blocking them from graduating. So I would maybe say yes for the maths bit.
So that's a yes. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Does civil engineering have to do with chemistry? Yes, a little bit, not a little bit. Yes, a lot. So in civil engineering, you probably do sanitation, water treatment systems, and there's a lot of chemistry involved, obviously, in water treatment systems. You have to mix concrete. That's some chemistry, but it's called material science when you get to engineering. So yes, civil engineering requires chemistry. I'm worried that you're asking because you don't like. I never liked chemistry either, but a lot of the engineering degrees require chemistry and they teach it. So you learn chemistry in first year, just the basics, to get you to titrate and do tests in a lab. You need to familiarize yourself with chemistry in the lab. So yes, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, they all require chemistry as a subject. But that's taken care of because you learn it in physical sciences. Is there a course for chemistry only? Yes, there is. You could become a chemist. So that would be a BSc chemistry that you would do. I like these questions from a grade 9. And I was hoping for these kind of questions as well from the older grade students. So that's why I'm taking time to answer them, because maybe some of you also have these questions. If you do maths and science, but you don't do life sciences, can you do medicine? Can I just answer you there? No. You have to do life sciences because there is a minimum requirement for it as well. Is there a difference in doing science at college and doing it at university? I think by college, you mean TVET college? Yes, universities are more theoretical. So they teach you the details of the fundamentals of the science, whereas colleges probably limit themselves to some practicals. So a person from university will know a lot more detail about chemistry at the knowledge level. So someone at college might be good with specific experiments because they focused on those. So there is a difference. It depends what you're comfortable with. If you want to work with paint, work for Plascon or Dulux, maybe a college degree isn't bad. College and University of Technology. Okay. So we used to call them technicons. So technicons are more geared towards practical stuff. Working. I mean, even at university, you still do the practical stuff, but you are tested at the higher theoretical level, right? What level do you need in science, chemistry, and maths to qualify for universities? Different requirements, different universities, different requirements. I feel sad if the student is not here, because these are some nice questions. As a grade 9 learner, soon I will have to choose subjects. I want to be an accountant, but I'm good in science. Can I be an accountant with maths and science? Well, definitely. Yes. My recommendation, if you're good with maths and science, keep doing it until grade 12. And do it with your accounting, obviously, if you're doing accounting in high school. The thing about accounting is that even if you didn't do accounting in high school, you can get into an accounting program at university with just maths. Okay, so accounting requires some of the logical thinking, logical processing that comes with the maths education. If chemistry, science, and maths are essential, helpful, many people do it. Why do you think? How do I get rid of this? Something blocking my screen. What do you think is the cause of unemployment rate to keep on increasing? Why is the unemployment rate increasing? Very good question. Isn't it focusing mostly on these subjects, not the others, can help businesses? This is a hard question to answer. So economies perform differently, not just because there are a lot of chemistry and science maths graduates. Economies basically depend on governance. Who's running the corporations? Who's running government? Are they in sync with the needs of the country, etc., etc.? Is there too much corruption? Corruption takes away jobs. So if there's too much corruption, jobs gone, because people get backhanded deals and they don't care about developing an economy. So this is a very big question. I don't think I'm necessarily qualified to answer it, but I like the fact that you thinking about it. I'm not sure of the statistics of unemployed maths and science graduates. Obviously, if you've just done pure mathematics and you want to go work, that's not easy. You're not gonna just get a job because you have a maths degree. I'll take myself as an example. When I finished my first degree, I majored in maths and physics. I was considering doing an honors degree in mathematics, but I asked the lecturer what it is that I would do with an honors in maths if I didn't want to be an academic and teach maths and science. And he mumbled some things about actuary. So actuary is business science. Actuarial science and business science are aligned. I don't remember where I typed business science now. Oh, there I was. So business or actuarial science. Science. Okay. Yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, so I chose to do an engineering degree because there was more practical value instead of just going on ahead and doing an honors degree in maths, which would have been 1 year. I chose to do another 4 years at university for an engineering degree. It depends where you are whenever you finish high school. Your focus should be getting good marks in high school and researching as much as possible about university programs while you're still in high school so that you make a good choice of subject or of career to take on after high school. How does maths help in solving real life problems? Oh, real life problems are maths. That's why we learn maths. If you can solve for X, you can solve any problem. Real life problems are mathematics. Are mathematical in nature. Even when you don't think they are, there's a lot of maths in the world. Okay, I mean, I used to work for ESCOM, and my department was called energy planning. So where the guys used to plan for the building of power plants. To do this planning, we factor in the cost of building a power plant, supplying it with primary fuel like coal, gas, nuclear, and so forth. And we model this in a mathematical model and spew out plans for the organization, for the country, and would say, build Medupi in 2011, build Medupi, build Kusile in 2014. That's a lot of mathematics and engineering, obviously, and economics that has gone into that thinking. And people who didn't do maths didn't listen to those things. And what we have now is called load shedding, right? So load shedding is also mathematics, subtracting load from our capacity. Okay, so if we can't meet the demand for electricity, we switch off power plants. So there's a lot of maths. We don't like that mathematics, but unfortunately, if people don't do things timelessly, after a while, it becomes difficult to do things, keep the lights on and so forth. Maybe you guys will solve the power crisis in the country. I know we've had like over 50-something days of no load shedding so far, but you should be uneasy with that because when it comes, it's going to come in full force. So question 12, what advice can you give to grade 9 who want to do science and maths but are very good in other subjects? I'm assuming they're not good in maths and science. Just keep your head down, study, read your textbook, read your notes, do the examples. Whatever you put in, you'll get out. There's no miracle for good results. I would encourage everyone to continue doing maths post grade 9. Unfortunately, I've been to a lot of schools to know that that's not the case. Maths Lit has kind of taken over, and people struggle with mathematics, pure mathematics. They go the maths lead route, and it seems easy for everyone. But then you get stuck after high school. You get limited options in terms of what you can do. You can study at university or do as a career post high school. So I would encourage people to continue with their sciences and their mathematics, even if they're good with other subjects. You can keep as many subjects as you want going forward, whatever your school will allow. If you can slot maths and science there, please do so. You won't regret it, but you have to keep studying. You have to ask for help. I've come to this platform 3 years. This is my 3rd year now, FGL, and I've yet to be asked questions outside this workshop. So I'm also available. If you need my help, just let the FGL team know. We could set up sessions online. I know a lot of you, especially Ebenezer, are part of the what's that grade 12, 11 program? Jan. Okay. So you get busy on the weekends, get busy in the afternoons. But if you have time and you want to engage with me, maybe we could set up a group here and work on those little issues that are hindering your excellence in maths and science. I normally charge for that, so if I'm offering, that means I'm being nice. I've been speaking for 10 minutes straight. Is there anyone who wants to just ask something on the things I've answered here before I move on to the next question? Okay, I don't see any hands. You see hands?
I don't see hands on my side, but there are lots of questions on the chat box. And I think I see that Uzukanye is your next question there on your list. He's got a question about studying alone and studying in class. He says, I would like to ask, is it best to study alone or to listen carefully while your teacher is teaching? But I think that goes back to what you were explaining earlier, the difference between learning and studying. And then he follows up that question with a question on working alone or group studying.
Working alone versus group study. All right, so I'm gonna answer. Zuganye, I'd seen Lusango's hand go up, so maybe I just want to hear if Lusango has something to say on top of the things that I said here for Makuza Maliu. Lusango.
Hello again, sir.
Yes.
Just the question that was just asked by I forgot her name, sorry, but about is it best to work alone or is it best to work as a group? It's just that we've just undergone a lesson in our life orientation class about this exact question. So basically, some brains or some people have a learning style and prefer to work as a group. It is by their nature that they work best when they work with others, and they like to interact, they like to talk, and it just facilitates their learning experience. So they just learn faster when they learn with others. But at the same time, some people prefer to work alone. It's not a bad thing. It's just that some people work faster when they work alone, or they just want to work at their own pace. So by working alone, they can either go fast or go slow down. They can go back, they can go forward. They don't have to be reliant on the majority, what the majority says we should be doing right now in a specific moment. So you can either do these things, you can just choose, or you can just fluctuate. You can work in groups sometimes, you can work alone sometimes if that's how you feel. But basically, our LO teacher told us that some people just prefer doing things alone and some people prefer doing things as groups. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks, Lusan. I'd like to latch on to your last points there that you don't have to be hard and fast about things. If you know that you study faster, when you're studying alone, do so. But I've always found that working with others means that you get to explain yourself outside your head, right? So sometimes you sit there and you think, oh, I understand what a wave is, right? And then the question comes, what is a wave? And you're like, oh, Ilando, you don't know what a wave is, right? So I find I teach because I learn a lot from teaching. I learn how I think, I learn how others think. I encourage group studies purely for that. If you go to a group study, don't just go to loaf and let others speak. Engage. You can study alone. I would also encourage you to study alone, maybe up to a point. If you feel like maybe a topic is difficult for you, then a group might help you disseminate the information better. Okay, so that was a lovely one from Zukanya and lovely explanation from Lufango. Zukanya, that question you're asking there, please explain the easiest way to factorize in grade 9. So I understand even the grade 11 kids were asking me about magnetism. I understand maybe you've just encountered these topics or you encountered them whenever and they traumatized you. You just need to learn the different ways to factorize, different factorizations from highest common factor or greatest common factor, quadratic trinomial, what else? Difference of squares, cubes, sum of cubes. There's a lot of factorization methods that you need to learn. Get on it. Do examples. There's no quick way, in the sense that I can't say something and you walk away, you'd be like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. It depends what you're doing. If you're doing highest common factor, just factorize out the highest common factor. If you're factorizing a trinomial, quadratic trinomial, you have your binomial factors as well. So you need to figure out that quickly, right? How do you always get it right? I find a lot of people get the signs wrong and so forth. I'm not going to dwell on it now because I can't really demonstrate it, and we're not going to have time for doing it. Lusango, this was your question. Yes, you spoke about, I would really appreciate it if you could explain more on the physical sciences topic regarding electromagnetism. Specifically, I would like to ask, what are the particular significance or particle significance of magnets that give them the ability to attract other metals and induce electromotive force and conduct cores and whatever. I would appreciate it if you could discuss the effects of the magnetic flux on the direction of the current caused by the EMF. Okay, so these are the questions that I am not really going to answer. These ones require you, Lusango, to read the topic on electromagnetism, not just listen to your teacher teach it, but also challenge yourself to read it and test the facts that you're getting from your teacher. Electromagnetism really is a gift to us from the electromagnetic wave spectrum. But you also get ferromagnetic materials, which you learn about in grade 10. So magnetism emanates whenever there's an there's electron movement. So if electrons are moving, you induce magnetism, right? Magnetic field. So that's what is at the core of magnetism. I would say that should tell you something about electrons inside a magnet. So electrons inside a magnet are always moving, always spinning. That's what induces their magnetism. And it's like a huge insight for us. When Faraday and all of them came up with the laws to quantify it, I mean, they studied it simply, you know, We're like, oh, okay, so these materials magnetic. What's happening inside? And they did not have the knowledge we have of the periodic table, the physics we have, quantum physics, and all of the stuff that we got in the 20th century. So they did this 17th century, 16th century, I don't know, as far back as then. But they didn't have the knowledge we have, the modern knowledge we have now. So, and we've quantified a lot of this knowledge in the grade 11, grade 12, grade 8, grade 10 textbooks. So I'd recommend you read it and you process it and you try and understand it as best as you can. Without having to give a lecture on electromagnetism, I wouldn't be able to give you something that will satisfy you tonight. Wait, why is there two? Okay, so that's me. Delete that. That viewer, Tuzluana, is also a grade 11 student. Why do resistors in parallel have the same voltmeter reading? Yeah, you should be able to see that when you look at the parallel circuit. So parallel circuits are parallel with the battery cell, right? So on the left and the right, they have the same polarity. That's why they have the same voltmeter reading themselves, which if they're just connected to a battery, that voltmeter reading will be the voltmeter reading from the battery. Of course, grade 12s, you know, I would have to be talking about external voltages then. So I'm just look at the circuit. I normally have a slide that discusses it. I don't think we're going to get to that slide today. But if we do, you'll benefit. How do electrons absorb quantum light? Again, you need to understand the EM spectra phenomenon and read up on it. It's detailed in textbooks. So if you have a problem understanding what's being read, maybe we can discuss it at some other time. What does the wave function of an electron represent? This is quantum physics. So I'm not going to answer this stuff because it's not grade 11 stuff, unless you're doing like AP physics. How was the Pythagoras theorem proved? It was proved in many different ways. It was just recently proved by a group of young high school students in the US, I think last year. They used purely trigonometry to prove the Pythagorean theorem. But in grade 12, you're going to prove it using Euclidean geometry. So I think you should look forward to that, or you can start looking at your textbook, or someone else's textbook, and see how it's proved in grade 12. How are science constants calculated experimentally? So all of these constants were measured experimentally, depending, I mean, they have accuracies that vary depending how you did the experiment to test the values of the constants. What is quantum entanglement? Again, this is university physics, but it's the idea that particles are connected without a physical connection, right? So if something happens to an electron over here, another electron bound to it will feel it as well. What's dark matter and how is it related to black holes? Okay, so all of this is probably research for grade 11. Love you. Is this a science project that you, or is just your curiosity? Raise your hand so I can unmute you. Yes, sir. Speak.
Good morning, good afternoon, sir. I simply just like wanted to like I wanted to gain information. I wanted to know like different stuff. It's not a science. It's not a project of some sort. Like I just wanted to know things that I don't know.
Okay. Well, I can see that. I appreciate it. Yeah, we'd have to have a conversation about the nature of physics beyond high school. So in high school, you're really learning the tools of physics. Post high school, you're learning really the tools of physics and the nature of the universe. These are interesting topics, but a bit beyond this workshop today. Okay, thanks for asking them. Maybe we'll find some time to discuss them sometime this year. Okay, thanks, Lavi. Minion Sitonga. You sent a geometry problem, which would be grade 12, grade 11, and grade 12 would apply to grade 11, grade 12. We're not solving problems tonight, but I was curious if a grade 10 could answer. So anyway, before I get lost in my tongue here, what did you say? I'd like to ask a question in mathematics on how to tackle a question in circle geometry, yeah? Like the one below, and also when it has more chords than the one below. Okay, so unfortunately I won't be able. So this was your diagram. I won't be able to go through this today because it will probably just end up boring the grade 8s and the grade 9s. Again, I hope we can have a session to discuss it. I took my time to redraw your diagram so that is clear to me because yours was a little bit fuzzy. And drawing these diagrams, by the way, gives you a lot of insight. I know a lot of you, when you see a diagram like this, it's usually drawn for you. You've never worked with a protractor and drawn them. I encourage you to try and draw these diagrams. Yeah, you'd find it interesting how much you learn just from drawing it. Okay. I'm not going to discuss it. I started preparing it for you, and then I thought, I'm not going to answer solutions here. I'm not going to do solutions here. I just want to answer the generic questions. Agqobile ngesi in grade 9. First question is what the formula is for forming salts. Again, this is something you should read in your textbook. Usually these are acid and base reactions. So there's enough information in your textbook to figure this out. I know this because we had a test session last year here in the group, and I asked some of these questions to the grade 9s and grade 8s. Who made the periodic table and why? Periodic table didn't really come into fruition until late 19th century or early 20th century. 20th century is it's the last century we're in, the 1900s. The guy who put it all together was Dmitry Mendeleev. Some people had tried to do it before, but because we didn't quite understand the nature of atoms, we only started understanding atoms and the nature of atoms into the 20th century. And then we started formulating a model for an atom. It had a nucleus in the center, the electrons around, the protons on the nucleus, it had neutrons, all of the stuff came out after Mendeleev put the periodic table together. What are polyatomic ions? Yeah, you just need to read that stuff. I think this reads like a homework to me. What is the strongest base? There is no strongest base that I know of. You have strong bases, you have strong acids. I don't know what scale of strength is, right? Hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, those are strong acids. Sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide. Those are strong bases. I wouldn't know how to list which one is stronger than which offhand. I'd have to look it up at a table. Which indicator is the best to check if substance is basic? You just need to get with the program and read up on indicators. There's a few of them. I don't know best, but I mean, if you're working with a strong acid and a strong base, you might need specific indicators to test the acidity and alkalinity. Why other elements in the periodic table have symbols not related to their names? So, e.g., hydrogen is H, but potassium is K. This is historical. I want to share a particular screen. Yeah. I'm trying to share a screen.
Okay. I just wanted to make you aware of the time for Mavo. We have about 20 minutes left in the session. I'm not sure how many more questions you have from that list before you jump back to your presentation.
Yeah, I'll see. Don't worry about it.
Okay, all right.
I wanted to share this screen.
There's also some hands up.
Yes. So why do some atoms, some elements have a relation to their names, like hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, but sodium is Na, and potassium is K. I found this website. If you guys can take the name of that, I'll share it in my presentation actually, so you can take it down. This is a useful website. As I'm always speaking about it to the FTLers. If you click on an element, it gives you a lot of information. It can also give you the history of an atom, right? If you go here, it will tell you when it was first discovered, and who discovered it, right? And it will tell you that the name hydrogen comes from water and genes for forming. That's why it's called hydrogen, because it forms water. Lots of useful information. Get on this website, right? I encourage you. And you'll find out a lot about the naming as well. So I encourage you to do it. So I wanted to show this website in particular, so I'm going to go back to those questions and then jump back to my presentation. I have a lot of slides. I don't intend to go through all of them. Just over prepared. Share. Right, and Lukanyi, so unfortunately, I would need to be convinced that you've answered all the questions first before helping you with the last question as you indicated. So I mean, there's the structure of molecules as well. Latita, you need to get on it in your grade 11 chemistry. There's a lot of things we could say about this. We don't have time for it. So I want us to get back now to the nature of my presentation. I tried to cover the questions in detail where I was not asked to solve a problem, right? People were asking specific general questions about how to study, how best to recall information, and so forth. Those are the questions I tried to answer. As you can see, I've started preparing slides for the answers. Okay, so A lot of you performing very well. I saw the results for the first term. Congratulations. And basically, whatever you're doing, if it resonates with what I say on this slide, like managing your time, dedicating time to studying, allocating the time, it could be an hour, it could be less, right? For studying physics and chemistry, and for maths as well, you could do the same thing. Keep doing it. You must do dry runs before tests. You must do dry runs before exams. Don't go into an exam without preparing an actual exam example. So save some question papers to answer within a limited time period. So if an exam is 3 hours, save yourself a question paper that you want to answer in 3 hours, just to check how you do under pressure. Okay.
But Mavo, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to make a note and that we would extend by at least 10 minutes because I don't want you to rush this part of the presentation either. Okay. Because essentially we do want them to master how to master.
How to master, okay. That's fine. All right, so do the dry runs. Do not solve questions longer than necessary. Try and always find a concise method of answering questions. And I say, again, save 2 question papers to practice timing, okay. Sapere aude is a Latin saying that means dare to know. So always challenge yourself to know things from your perspective, as well as the perspective of the scientists who articulated them for us. So it's always nice to understand friction. The reason you're able to walk is because of friction. If we didn't have friction, we'd probably slip and fall all the time, like you do on a ice ring. So if you try to walk on an ice ring, the friction is minimal there, you slip and fall. So that is applying the science and applying the knowledge of the science that you learn. I want perhaps to talk to this. So 100% knowledge is basically knowing all the units in chemistry and physics. You understand what I mean by units, right? Even the physical constants also have units, so it helps to know those units. You must know all the topics by name in chemistry. Whatever chemistry grade you're doing, know all the topics by name. So don't slack on knowing topics by name. It helps you find work easily if you know topics by name. And mathematics, this is basically the scope of mathematics in high school. From numbers, we learn about patterns and the algebra of working with numbers and the operations, equations, inequalities, functions. These are all the topics in maths, and depending on which grade you are, for instance, if you're not in grade 12, you don't learn about calculus, but you start learning about probability and statistics from grade 9. Grade 10, you start learning about financial mathematics, trigonometry. Measurement is linked to trigonometry and Euclidean geometry. Analytical geometry is linked to Euclidean geometry. So all of these topics, you must know them by heart. So if you want to ask a particular question, you say, sorry, Mr. Solomon, can I ask you a question? An analytical geometry question, and so forth. Remember the definitions, know the definitions by heart, also interpret them in your own understanding to internalize them. Internalize formulae, lots of formulas that you have to remember, okay? And I'm not going to dwell on them. Be comfortable with graphs. I see a lot of learners in grade 12 who don't know how to sketch a hyperbola or a parabola. When they sketch a parabola, they sketch a V. You must know what a parabola looks like. You must be able to draw it freehand. Be comfortable with graphs, understanding gradients and all of that stuff. there are trends proportionally to the results from the graphs. Yeah, so graphs are applied not just in maths, but in physics, as you can see here, putting net force against acceleration. You must understand what gradients tell you. Sorry, something is blocking my screen again. Okay. So this is usually an interaction that I have with students. So from F equal to mg, what is the nature of the graph of 1 over r squared? Is it a linear graph? Is it a parabolic graph? Is it a hyperbolic graph? I'll take answers. Sukai? Subur?
No, actually, good evening. I'm not gonna answer anything because my hand has been up for a while now.
Okay. Let's not waste
Yeah.
time. Let's give someone else a chance to answer then. Thank you, Zikai.
Okay.
Okay. I need to view. Whose hands are up?
Evening, sir.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
It's going to be a linear graph. The
It's going
force
to be
is
a linear.
directly the force is directly proportional to 1 over r squared.
Yes.
So the graph is going to be linear. But if it was r squared, it was going to be a what's this? Hyperbolic graph. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Awesome. Thank you so much. Right? So she's correct. It's a linear graph. Oh, this computer. So because it looks like y equal to some constant multiplied by x. So x being 1 over r squared. Okay, awesome. And she's already answered this one. If we're talking about f versus r squared, it would be a parabolic graph, like y equal to a constant over x, where x is r squared. All right, so work ethic, you must reproduce examples. Don't take an example as it is in a textbook. Work with it and try and solve it from scratch for yourself and check yourself against the example in the textbook. Attempt it on your own. The solutions diverge, use that to check your misunderstanding. So as soon as you get a different answer from the example, try and figure out why. Solve exercises individually first, and then as a group, which goes back to what we were speaking about earlier, whether it's good to work as a group or alone, all right? So when you practice exercises, do them by topic first. This helps isolate the concept. Most textbooks do this for you, and they will have answers at the back, even if it's just for the odd numbered questions. Okay. So always do the exercises. Don't skip them. Don't rush only to the exam papers. Use the exam papers, the test exam papers, to test your combination of all the skills. Indulge both the basic education department's papers and the IB questions if you're in grade 12, 11, and 10. I don't know where to access grade 11 and 10 IB papers, but I know some people who are doing IB here in the group here. So maybe they could share their question papers. There's no national resource that you can tap into except for grade 12. And I talk about IB and DBE because they're the same syllabus. So it helps you understand questioning from different angles.
Could you maybe differentiate between the DBE and the IEB? There's a question there. What is the difference between those two?
The DBE papers are from our national government. IEB papers are from private schools predominantly. But some of the former Model C schools will also write IAB question papers, but it's the same syllabus, just from different boards of examination. So the IAB Board of Examination is not run by government, it's independent. It's called the Independent Examination Board. And then the DBE is the Department in Education. So that's from our government. That's the only difference, just ownership. Exam question practice. Don't sleep on multiple choice questions. Use them. So by answering multiple choice questions the way I do, and not just say the answer is C2, documenting why the answer is C2, right? Based on this question, chlorides, silver, lead 2, and crystallize the answer. Document it. Don't say answer is C2, right? Say lead salt is lead chloride, where Pb plus is oxidized to Pb2 plus. That's a lot of information for yourself, so that when you go back to that question, you don't go, why did I answer 2, right? So you collect information, or you can eliminate. You could say, which one of the following is not true? So you can start analyzing which ones are true, and then eliminate the one that is not true. That is your answer. Okay, and I write a lot of information around that just for myself, so that I know that I'm consistent in my thinking. So that's multiple choice questions. And I've already shown you this website. So if you feel free to copy the website for your periodic table. Okay. I like this website because you can learn group trends going down a periodic table. You can learn periodic trends across the periodic table. From the website, you can learn a lot more than you would normally learn from a textbook. So I encourage, if you have a little bit of data, you have access to a computer at school, just sit with this website just to update your knowledge on the periodic table. Yeah, so I'm quite happy to take questions here and maybe end it. Oluetu?
There were so many questions that came through as you were interacting. I'm going to try filter through some of them, but Mavo. Apologies to our FPLers if we don't get to all of the questions. Other Tanda was wanting to focus on skills or methods you use to perform accurate mathematical calculations. So any particular things that you have to do to make sure that you are accurate in figuring out a mathematical equation. I don't know if it's referring to algebra, geometry, whatever it is.
You know what I like to do? I like not using a calculator. So when I'm practicing, I'm solving a problem on my own, I hide my calculator. I try and solve everything without a calculator. Doing all the multiplication by hand, by head, you know, that helps a lot with your accuracy. That means you have a sense of magnitude, sense of order, order of magnitude, so that by the time you take a calculator and start punching, when a calculator spits out a number, a value that is not congruent to what you were thinking, you can check the error that you made in the calculator. Okay, so I like not using a calculator at all. Also, I don't like expanding squared binomials. So there's a tendency with high schoolers. If I have x minus y all squared, okay, I'm hoping they can use their imagination. Minus x squared. I'm not going to open that bracket. I'm just going to use the difference of squares on those terms. Okay. So I don't like expanding brackets because you lose a lot of accuracy, you start rounding off. Also, I find in financial mathematics, people start punching in numbers from the second step. They write the formula, they punch numbers, they keep rounding off until the final answer, maybe 5 steps later. Me, I solve the equation with just the variables and only punch in the numbers right at the end. That helps a lot with your accuracy in financial mathematics. Solve the equation up front. So if you have A is equal to P into 1 plus I to the power n, to solve for n, I divide by P, A divided by P, right? And this is now going to be grade 12. I take the log of all of that, do all of that stuff that you do grade 12s. And then I have an equation with just n as the subject of the formula. And then only then do I punch in the values for P, A, I. Okay, so that helps a lot with your accuracy. And I know a lot of students are taught otherwise. I don't understand. I never quite understand why. So that's all I have to say about that. What was the second question?
Another question is the difference between algebraic expressions and algebraic equations. That goes to your highlighting the importance of terms and definitions and all that stuff.
So an expression in mathematics will just involve addition, subtraction, multiplication. So you could have 4 plus 3xy. That's an expression. Right? There's 2 terms there. An equation will have an equal sign. It will say 4 plus 3xy is equal to something. That's an equation. So an equation has to have an equal sign. Okay.
Okay. I want to ask if any FGLers have questions to ask. If anyone wants to put their hand up, we'll give you about 5 to 6 more minutes. Do you see any hands put, Mavo? I can't see any on my side.
No.
All right, then I'll go back.
I see Lusango and Zabalaza on the list.
All right, so let's start with Zabalaza.
But Mavo, I wanted to ask, how did you come to know so much information about maths and physical sciences, including chemistry?
Oh, okay. So in high school, like I say, I wasn't the brightest, sharpest tool in the shed. I really came to fruition at university. You know, at university, you're learning from specialists. You're learning maths from a mathematician. You're learning physics from a physicist. You're learning chemistry from a chemist, and you have access to huge textbooks full of wealth of knowledge. So I only came to the knowledge of all of these subjects at university. In high school, obviously, you learn a limited amount on each of the subjects. But once you get to university, it's up to you how much you want to know. So I threw myself at the topics at university. I wasn't necessarily good with chemistry because I don't have a chemistry head. That's why I majored in physics. I have physics in its nature. Theoretical physics is more like mathematics, but with the direction of applicability. So that helped a lot in my thinking, and that also helped with my engineering, that I'd done physics to the depth of understanding that I'd done it. And even the chemistry, I'd done chemistry up until second year level. But I was not moved by chemistry at the time. I regret it now because chemistry is much more fun, I think. It's almost immediate. It's feedback. Like you know right now whether you're doing something right or something wrong. That's what I loved about chemistry after varsity. Yeah, so I learned a lot of what I know at university.
All right, thank you so much, Zabalaza. Another hand that was up.
Have a hand.
Have a hand one.
Good evening, sir.
Yes,
I would
ma'am.
like to ask, how do you improve your math skills?
What grade are you in, Avatan?
Grade 8.
Grade 8, okay. Nice to hear from a grade 8. Wonderful. With a lot of studying. So whatever you learn in class, when you get home, you must practice it. If you struggle even while you're practicing, that means you must read up on it. Okay. So always read before starting to practice, and always practice. Don't leave it for tomorrow. Don't leave it for the weekend. If you learn it today, go home and go through it again. Okay.
Thank you, sis.
All right. Lukanyiso, that's.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I would like to, it's not something related to what you have talked about, but I would like to ask if there's an addition of a catalyst in a reaction in chemical equilibrium after the equilibrium constant. Hello?
Did you get that question, Mavo? You were breaking quite a bit. Want to repeat that question?
No, I got it. I got it.
Okay.
I'm not gonna answer it. You must.
Why not?
You must go to the chapter. No, grade 12s are very, very sneaky. Go to the chapter on chemical equilibrium and check all the factors that affect the KC. I want you to do it. If I tell you, you're still not gonna know it. There's a reason that you have to read it, because it explains why pressure, why temperature, why concentration, why catalyst affect KC or not affect KC. I need you to read that section. And then when we have our group discussion, when we're having a chemistry discussion, I want you to feed me back. I'm going to remember you, Lukanyis. I want you to tell me what you discovered, and then we can elaborate on things. Is that fair?
Okay, all right. Mavo, final question before we say goodbye. The question came a little bit earlier on. It was the question of studying across night, not sleeping, studying throughout the course of the night. So that's something you'd recommend. And from the experience you've had with the learners you've tutored, has it been effective? You also emphasize the importance of sleep at the start of your presentation.
I haven't heard the word cross-nighter since 1991.
It's written here.
I haven't heard it since 1991. But yeah, I mean, I don't encourage it. Usually people do it if they waited until the last minute to study for a test or an exam. Study well ahead of time. Don't
You
put
still
that
have
kind
your
of pressure.
microphone on. Please make sure your microphone is on mute while we close the session. Okay, sorry about that, Mavo.
Don't put unnecessary pressure on yourself and wait until the last minute to study. That's when cross-nighting becomes an option. And a lot of people like, oh, we're writing in 2 days' time, we're writing tomorrow, this is our cross-nighter. And that doesn't help anyone. You forget stuff because sleep, you owe it a debt. If you don't sleep, you owe the sleep a debt. And it might come and just massage your brain and remove the information you learned while you were cross-nighting. I don't encourage it at all.
Okay, I love that. Well, Mavo, thank you so much for your time. It's evident with the number of questions that we actually do need to do a session with you. We actually go through each and every one of, perhaps through a quiz, perhaps through a session. Now we'll be going through some past papers and previous questions and that sort of thing. Hopefully we'll find the time before we get into the thick of exams. We really appreciate you joining us today, as always.
I had a good time. Thank you, Olwethu. Thank you, FGL. Thank you to all the learners who participated and those who listened as well. I hope you got something from me useful today.
Thank you so much. Well, that's it. We wrap up the session on sharpening your excellence with Mavo Solomon. I see lots of messages from the FGLers just saying thank you. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you, FGLers, being so engaged and involved from the start of the session until now. Your 100,000 Genius Dollar points are on your way for attending. Another 100,000 Genius Dollar points for all of those who participated so actively. We will be announcing our new session at the end of the month. Looking forward to seeing you all soon. Happy studying. Remember, you need to manage your time, you need to rest, you need to prepare, and of course, do not procrastinate, because your future is absolutely in your hands, and we want to see you be the superstars that you are. You must take care. Have a fantastic, fantastic evening.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.